All right, everybody, gang signs. Dun 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 dun. The rap party, the rap party. No infringement on this song. Dun 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 dun. The rap party. All right, cool. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the rap party. My name is Damien. Where we talk about indie movies with indie fans. We also talk about some things in Hollywood. After all, it is summertime, so there's going to be some big things to talk about today. And we kind of hinted at what we're going to talk about a little bit. But first, I'd like to introduce the people that are with us today, holding down center stage because we're empowering females today with the rest of the world, is Nadine Rodriguez. Hey, Nadine.
Hi, guys.
And over on the left, back from a long hiatus, mainly because he's on set, and hey, that's what we do, is Hector Velez.
What's up, everybody? Glad to be back, guys.
Yeah, we missed you.
Did you?
Yeah, well,
I missed you guys.
So we're whenever you see none of the panelists here or some of the panelists that aren't here, that's because they're either on set, on location, they're doing their thing. We are working indie professionals. Me, I will probably not be here next week. I do have to I'm going to be out of town. So let's see how Nadine holds it down next week.
It's probably going to be Nadine. Everybody's out of town next week. Think about this.
Ooh. So it'll be the Nadine show next week.
But no, probably
we could do this, Patty. Oh, yeah.
Okay, we can do this.
Yep.
I believe in us.
Yeah, we could do this. Patty Jenkins ain't got nothing on us.
That's right. Wait a minute. You trying to get me on your side? No.
Anyway, so first of all, we want to touch on a couple of things that happen in the indie news market and in the big Hollywood news field as well. Again, we can't avoid Hollywood news because it just affects all aspects of film. So Nadine, give us the rundown. What's going on?
So in indie news, we have indie horror director Adam Wingard is going to be moving from indie films for the moment and going on to blockbuster films after, jumping out the budget slowly for like 10 years. He's been like going up in bigger projects, and he's going to be directing Godzilla vs. Kong.
Wow. What were some of the films that he had directed before that?
He worked on the remake of Blair Witch.
Mm-hmm.
He worked on, it was mostly more smaller horror indie films. He's all horror, which is why a lot of people they've been speculating how his fans are going to react, because he usually takes out a film in a year.
Wow.
Really quickly.
Godzilla vs. Kong is not a one-year project.
Yeah, no, that's going to be 3 years. So there's going to be a big hiatus for those who are waiting for horror movies from him. Mm-hmm. But, if he can really turn out Godzilla vs. Kong, that would be amazing.
Is this his first real big
Yeah, this is his big
visual effects blockbuster as well?
Yes.
Because that's a lot of visual effects.
Well, I mean, I believe the director who jumped on the Jurassic Park, he did his own visual effects in Monster, mm-hmm. and that was a smaller indie visual effects film. But, for a director, luckily, I mean, I don't know who the visual effects company is, but if it's like Industrial Light and Magic, trust me, they're going to give him a great visual effects director.
Yeah,
he won't have to worry about that.
That's true.
Yeah.
He could just focus on story. And I mean, Godzilla versus Kong, I mean, that could really use the touch of a horror director. I mean, let's think about it. It's two monsters, and you want to build tension.
Right.
And, you want to build up to that fight. And we all know what happens when you build up to a fight and don't deliver. Mm-hmm. Just saying. But we'll get onto that in a little bit. What else do we have?
We also have Cowboy Bebop is getting a live-action version of the movie, and the script is...
Wait. Is it by the people who did Ghost in the Shell? Oh.
No. It's been written by Christopher Josh, who is the writer for Thor Ragnarok.
Okay, I haven't seen it, so I can't tell you whether or not I like it or not.
But he also worked on the sequel for Thor 2, and he also has worked on several of the Marvel
films?
animated shows.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
So for the animated shows. So I'm really hoping that, he can really kick it out of the park, because I am a huge Cowboy Bebop fan.
What are something that you need to see happen for Cowboy Bebop to feel successful?
Definitely you need to touch on a little bit of the backstory for each of the characters, because they're they're entirely different.
But Cowboy Bebop, unlike Ghost in the Shell, Cowboy Bebop was a series. That's like making a Naruto film? Like anytime you take a TV series and try to make it into one film, isn't that a
That's
little
what
difficult?
I mean. It's gonna be very difficult to comprise it into one film just because you don't really get a lot out of Spike until the very end.
For those of you that don't know Cowboy Bebop is an anime. It was a series. It's actually, I would compare it to the anime version of Firefly.
Yeah.
Could you say that?
Yeah, I
and
can
you
say
like
that.
you like Firefly, right? So I would say it's the anime version of Firefly.
See, what makes me nervous about it, and I know this is just the news, is that has there been a successful anime movie crossover yet? It's sort of like video game.
Yeah.
Video game crossover. Yeah.
I mean, Dragon Ball Z was awesome, right? Ghost in the Shell was awesome.
See, I'm
No, it
hoping
wasn't.
that they
Let's go back to the rap party, and then the show ends on that note. No, I'm joking.
I want it to be successful. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We always want the anime.
I do. I want
movies to be
anime. I want
successful.
DC to be successful. I want it all to be. I want every movie to be successful because I want to be entertained. But
Yeah.
it just something always goes wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's hope it
I'm
doesn't go wrong this
definitely not expecting for it to be perfect. I don't have like my hopes aren't super high, but I'm still excited to see anything Cowboy Bebop related because
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan.
Yeah. Well, I say we set the bar at 2.
Yes.
And then hopefully if they can pass the 2, we'll be excited. We'll
If
be
they
happy.
do four, I'm happy.
Is that sad?
It
That
is
now when it
sad,
comes to
but
anime and
yeah.
game movies, we're like, dude, just get the names right. His name is Aang.
Get the names
Aang.
and get their personalities right, and I'm okay.
I'm saying, can just they get the story right?
No,
That's hard.
never
See,
gonna
that's
happen.
hard to get, especially a series.
Dude, just put it on Netflix. Why
Oh
they
my
still gotta?
God,
Why do
yes.
they gotta put it
Yes.
on?
Turn it
Why do
into
they
a show.
gotta put
Yeah.
it on them big
a
movie
live action
screen?
Cowboy
Live action
Bebop would
Cowboy
make.
Why?
Bebop would be amazing.
But then people would say, well, that's Firefly. Well, no, Cowboy Bebop's very different.
still
Let me,
different.
if Cowboy Bebop's very different. It has a different funk to it. You know what I mean? And it has that anime style to it. So, yeah, but that's good. That's great to see an indie director moving up to another big budget film. Marvel in particular has been doing that quite a bit, and Disney's done that on a number of things as well. Where they'll take a film director who's proven themselves on some smaller budget stuff.
Yeah.
And they almost did it with Peele after Get Out. They were like they were about to put him on Akira, and he was like, nah. I'm gonna do another small film first, which is smart on his part.
Yeah.
Especially after what happened with Ghost in the Shell. He doesn't want his first one to be like awesome and the
yeah.
second one to be like a flop. But
Which is, I think that's a lot of people's apprehension too with the Kong, like Godzilla versus Kong thing. It's like, is he jumping the gun? Because he's getting that huge, like,
Yeah,
he's
but-
getting this option to be able to like take on this huge movie. But is he jumping the gun? And because if the movie flops, it might hurt him really badly. Like if he's going back to indie, he might lose a lot of his fans.
you see, I don't think that an indie director will ever lose their indie fans, especially when they go back to indie stuff. It's like I would compare it to a musician who does small shows, does a big concert. Maybe the pyrotechnics weren't great, but if they go back to like a small little, like local bar and do a show, their fans are still gonna love them, especially with that intimacy.
What happened to Metallica? They were calling Metallica sellouts. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
But let's just be honest. And will anybody call Metallica sellout? If Metallica walked in and started playing in the bar, they would be right there in front.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'd be right there.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Like, you have to any industry. You have to evolve with the industry, or else
Yeah.
you're stagnant. And then
Well, they
everybody
deserve
forgets
it.
everybody's
Let's
like,
just say,
what happened to this?
working
Yeah.
with indie films, I think your ultimate goal is to work on a big film. Why? You know what I mean? Everyone wants to work with a big film.
Right.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think those guys deserve it at this point.
there's some directors that all they like are intimate stories that have to do with interpersonal relationships, and they could probably stay on an indie budget for the rest of their lives. And I'm perfectly happy with doing things of that nature, but I also have big ideas for bigger films, and I'm pretty certain that he, loving horror, may have ideas for bigger horror films or bigger things. So yeah, give him a shot. I mean, if he's proven himself to have a following, it's like anything else. If you could prove yourself to have a following, I think you should be given the shot to try something bigger and go outside of your realm. I mean, you've got to stretch your legs a little bit. Creatively, I think so. So what else do we have, Nadine?
Lastly, we have Wonder Woman and how amazingly, it broke box office and did amazingly on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, even though it went a little bit down, like after it premiere weekend, you know, it only went to 93%, so it's okay.
So from 96 to 93.
Yeah, so 3%. It lost 3%, but I'll take it, especially after watching the film. I'll agree to that.
Okay, so we're gonna get into. We're gonna try to stay out of spoiler territory. Let's
Oh God.
Spoiler territory.
let's stay out of spoiler territory, okay? Because
Try.
there's still a lot of people that want to go see this film. Some people are gonna go see it for the second time. I myself have seen it twice.
Yes.
The first time I
My
see
friend
it.
has seen it like 6 times already, and I'm going with her again to go see it.
Okay, all right. So, the biggest buzz about Wonder Woman that I've just from the different news feeds and just from reading online is the fact that culturally it is a big impact. I mean, let's admit it. It's the first female-centric superhero film with a female lead that is also directed by the first female to direct a superhero film. It is
Backed by a major
studio. So there's like a lot of new ground that it broke from just a political and from a hey in the world of Hollywood this was unheard of 5 years ago, 10 years ago, up until now it's never been heard of. So from that point, yes, groundbreaking on that. But on a film, just on the film, take out all the groundbreaking news about it and all that stuff about it. Let's start down the line and let's hear general opinions, and then we'll get into a few specifics without spoiling anything. Hector?
Can I just give it a rating?
Yeah, sure.
So if I had to give it a rating, I'd give it a 4.
A 4. Okay.
Yes.
That's a high rating. Not a perfect rating, but a high rating.
Maybe
Okay.
at the end of this, I might give it a 3.6.
All right. Nadine?
Out of 5, I have to give it a 4.5.
A 4.5. I think it deservedly. I'm going to give it that 4.5, 4.25. No, I'm joking. I'm going to be 4.5. Because I definitely, and I'll go first. I definitely believe that the first 2 acts, strong. Yeah, you're going to love the first 2 acts. If you're watching Wonder Woman, you're going to fall in love with the character, the story. It has things that DC's never done before, which is like well-placed humor. And just from a DC standpoint, I personally think it's the best DC film. I love Man of Steel, and I was teetering back and forth between the two.
Yeah.
But I personally think that Wonder Woman edges out Man of Steel. So from that standpoint, I got to give it a higher rating than Man of Steel. And I do think that there's some flaws in the third act, but this has been something that's actually plaguing quite a number of films. When you get to that third act, that payoff, it's epic, but it has flaws. No, there's no doubt about it. That's why it's not a perfect 5 for me, but I definitely give it a 4.5. I was thoroughly entertained, and I didn't fall asleep the second time watching it. So that's a great thing for me.
I mean, Damien's description was a lot. He said quick and snippets first. I mean, was it me? Was it just me, guys?
That was like
He said, hey,
20
let's keep it
seconds
short. So I kept mine short.
Okay. No, it's your turn now. Why?
No,
Okay.
you go. I'm gonna rant.
She's gonna rant. That's why we got her in the center.
Well, I thought you already went.
No. She now you're gonna say why you gave it a 4.
Oh, okay, cool. See, guys, that's what happens when you not hear that much. I gave it a 4 due to the fact that I think they overused certain scenes. That I was like, oh my god, are you serious? I mean, how many times can we see that? Not that the movie was bad. It was beautiful. I mean, I liked it. There were some shots I was like, wow. I think they cut on budget somewhere where they're like, okay, well, we ran out of money, so let's just keep showing this scene. And you're like, okay, well, why do I have to see that scene? I'm trying not to spoil it.
Right.
But you guys know what I mean. And you're like, okay, why am I seeing this for?
Yeah.
You know, back again and again and again. So I think they were just trying to save money. But overall, for women, it was awesome.
Yeah.
I thought it was awesome. I was so happy. Me and Nadine were talking about this. I was so happy to see that for the first time ever, they didn't sexualize the hero,
Right.
female. It was like, and they did it classy.
That's important.
Yeah, and it was great. I was like, what? You know what I mean? And she's already beautiful, but it was about her empowerment. And I thought, you know, being a man, I was like, I could relate to that. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I thought that was 2 thumbs up for that.
Awesome. All right, Nadine. We put you at front stage center, so that way you can let us know what you think. Go ahead.
Okay. quick or like long?
Well, don't spoil it,
I'll
but
try.
Yeah.
we're giving you the center stage because from a female, speak to our
Okay.
female audiences out there who
Tell us how
may
you
or may
feel.
not have seen.
No man bashing.
So,
No, just joking.
I'll try.
Okay.
Okay, so the film overall, like I think it was beautifully done, and it did really did make a huge difference. Like one thing that I did see, there were a lot of articles, and then even I had like my best friend, she's like super into Wonder Woman. It's her favorite, and one of the things that I kept seeing recurring is like a lot of women were so touched. Like even someone every time in the fight scenes, women would like try not to cry. Even I felt emotional because here you have it's not only a female lead. You have a female lead that she is not obstructed by anything that, you know, having to go against patriarchy or anything like that. She does not feel like her beauty impedes her. She does not feel weak. She does not feel like she's lesser or above anybody else. She's just, you know, boss, and she's gonna do what she thinks is right. So I think that alone was so huge. Like I think that's one of the reasons why it's like it's that representation that you don't really see out there, because usually it's either, even if the female gets some sort of center stage, she's always impeded by something. She always has some type of weakness.
So if you were to compare it, I'm just going to draw a comparison between another strong comic book female in live action, Wonder Woman versus Black Widow. Why do you feel that Black Widow doesn't represent that, but Wonder Woman does?
I think because the problem with Black Widow, like the representation of Black Widow, is everything is sexualized. It's like, and not to say, you know, like I'm not trying to like, it's not about judgment or anything, but how that we see things, how things are like at first glance. That's the biggest thing. Like at first glance, that's how you're judged. People on the street, people on TV, and yes, you can use that sexualization for empowerment. Like one video game character, the one that uses the hair, the witch.
The hair, the witch.
Yeah, there's a.
You're talking about a video game character,
Yeah.
the hair, the witch.
That she uses her hair and it's her clothes. It'll come to me later.
I know what you're talking about. I
Yeah.
just don't know the name.
Yeah. That's the only one.
That's not
positive
Heavenly Sword, is it?
No.
No.
There's very few times when that sexualization is empowering to the female. It's usually you know, it's for men to see. It's not really. It doesn't make a difference to her. Like it doesn't give her like encouragement. It still holds her back, and a lot of times, yeah, she can use it to her advantage here and there. But it's like it's another tool.
I don't think Wonder Woman ever once used her looks
No.
to try to her advantage. People were taken by her looks, but no one ever said.
Also, like if we look at the era of the time when gentlemen were gentlemen, you know what I mean? He wouldn't even sleep with her. Like he was like, oh no, I can't lay with you because that's not proper etiquette.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So those times are a little bit different. Now, if you were to put Wonder Woman, she first came out in today's era, I think
She'd have punched a lot of dudes on the street.
But I also think it'd been a little bit different film because
one of those, hey mommy, she'd have kicked the hell out of a
because
dude.
if she was right now in Cuba, you know what I mean? Or she's in Puerto Rico, it would have been a whole different kind of language.
But I think a lot of it also has to do because she's never been exposed to that. So to her, not from outside, not somebody like, you know, because all the men were stricken by her beauty and like, okay, yeah, she's the most beautiful woman like on earth. But to her, that was nothing. It neither impeded her nor it gave her any gain. To her, it was just like, this is just how I look.
Now, I don't want to spoil anything, but could it have been, I'm just playing devil advocate, so ladies, please don't hate me, but could it be what she was taught, though, as a kid? Remember, she said some stuff there?
Yeah, about the book and things that she read.
Right,
So,
about the 12
you know what? That could be it, but I think it's more of because Wonder Woman, the first couple acts that I enjoyed about Wonder Woman is that Chris Pine's character, I think his name's Steve, we perceive Wonder Woman through Chris Pine's eyes, and we end up looking at her like this beautiful girl has no idea that she's this stunning. She's walking around, she's just like, oh, you know what? And he's like, you know, doing things, and there's some comedic stuff that happens in that you're like, yo, obviously you're not from here.
Right.
So, and there's a little fish out of water sense to it that kind of gives her that power because since she was not raised to know any different. What do you mean? You're a dude, I'm a woman, what's the difference? What? She's like so nonchalant about that difference, like, no, I don't like what you're saying, so I'm going to say something about it. She has no nothing, especially for that time era when women were very much no stand behind the guy and listen and quiet women. I mean, that kind of a deal.
I think we're this woman, because that trope has been used in other films, but I think we're this movie won versus those other movies that do that same trope of like this beautiful woman who doesn't know better, and you know she undresses in front of the guy because she doesn't know better, and she's like super good at this other thing. Like those, every other trope, like every other movie plays that as like she's not strong. She always has that weakness, like she doesn't know. She's a child, but she's just super powerful. A child that's super powerful. Yeah, here Wonder Woman's like she doesn't know that. Like she doesn't know how humans really are, but she still has confidence. She's still like sure of herself, and she's sure about what her duty is. Yeah. She still had.
And as confident as she is, she also gains more as the film. She gains even more confidence. You're like, she's already starting at like a level 8, 9 confidence, if that's possible. Maybe even a 10 confidence, and going towards 11 and 12. You know what I mean? So what as a female, what didn't you like that didn't give it a perfect 5 without spoiling anything?
Okay.
Now, mind you, this is we're nitpicking here because we're only talking about the difference between a 5 and a 4.5, and I'm pretty sure she would have given it a 4.75 if she could. But
yeah, I think what gave it a 4.5 for me was the effects, because they were reusing this one effect, which in my head I was like, are they trying to tie it into the other DC films? Like I'm thinking it's like, okay, this is the style they're going for, and that's why I'm like, you're using it a little bit too much. And then there was also the fact that there were 2 scenes that at first, when I first saw it, like these are my thoughts before, like when I first saw it, and then after, once I walked out and thought about it. When I first came out of the movie, I was like, there were 2 scenes where I was hoping she would emote more. Like I was like, okay, you're almost there, because she was brilliant. Like she was brilliant.
We're talking about Gal Gadot, right?
Yeah, Gal Gadot was brilliant, but there were 2 moments where I was expecting like a tear, and she could hold it right up to that point, but then it didn't come. And then later, I'm like, okay, she's super powerful. She doesn't, she's of this other realm, so it doesn't matter. She doesn't emote that way. She's not human, so it's okay.
And she's a warrior. Warriors don't cry.
A warrior.
Warriors
so I'm like,
aren't supposed to cry.
She doesn't show that. So that part I'm like, okay, it's fine. But going into the effects, like how they went through that, I'm thinking, because like before the movie came out, even when they were handing this movie to her, they were still kind of holding the reins, because like even I saw several places where they were calling her, she's an experiment for the studio, for the director.
Right. Well, what they were saying as far as, because Patty Jenkins wasn't originally slated to direct, and then she stepped in, and then Warner Brothers wasn't exactly sure. Well, you know what? And
she was
got to give
them the second Thor movie, though.
Right, but still, give them a little bit of credit from the standpoint of Warner Brothers got hit in the eye several times on the other films before it. So there's probably a little hesitation as to that whole. Again, remember all what I said at the very beginning. There's a lot of firsts in Wonder Woman just coming out. There's a lot of firsts. So when you're thinking about that. Yeah, from a guy who's spending, as a studio who's spending, 150, 250, whatever. I didn't check the budget. Whatever budget they spent on it, they're probably a little hesitant. They were probably a little hesitant. So there probably was a few, I wouldn't say shackles, but there were probably a few like, hey, precautionary tale, don't do this, stay within these guidelines. And there was also probably some corrective courses from the previous DC films that we know weren't really 100% received by everybody, So do you agree that, and we're going to get off of Wonder Woman right quick, but so what would you tell our audience about this film that they should go in expecting? How should they expect to go see this film? And
I say definitely go watch it. If you're a huge Wonder Woman fan, go watch it, but be aware, cinematic universe always diverges from the comic book universe, so it's not completely faithful. And that's one thing that threw me off, and I was like, wait, what's going on? And especially if you're a huge fan, there's gonna be a lot of things that are gonna throw you off, even towards the end, and you're gonna be like, what's happening? So just be aware of that, and eventually, hopefully, in the next films, like in the next one, we'll be able to see more of how they're retelling the story and how they're gonna explain the changes that they made. But overall, it definitely worth the watch. It's a gorgeous movie, and like Gal Gadot is just fantastic. Like I was so happy.
Awesome. Any final thoughts on Wonder Woman before we move on?
No, it'd be something I'd be, want to take my daughter to. I think it's a good movie all the way, all around. There was just there's some choices I wish they would have made different. That's me nitpicking.
Yeah. See,
Nitpicking,
mine are like story ones that I can't
So,
say because
I can't say. Once maybe a couple weeks from now we could probably talk about.
Yeah, we'll probably come back to it in a few
but
weeks.
It's just I mean, overall, I thought it was a. I don't think it was a great movie. I'm not gonna say it was a great movie, but but it was a really good movie.
Yeah, I mean, as far as comic book movies are concerned, Wonder Woman I think was also
comic book and concerning the history of DC movies lately.
It's the
yeah.
Well,
Wonder Woman.
I have a Superman he's in my heart. So
Yeah.
But other than my Superman, that I know a lot of people don't like. The first Superman, and this one has to be like the top. Like they're like this, they're neck to neck.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. And so it's definitely worth watching. Look out for some of these upcoming directors that are coming out here doing some major films. We're going to look and follow their careers and see what they do. I mean, it's always exciting to watch an independent filmmaker jump out into the world of big cinema. I mean, that's what a lot of independent filmmakers do. They start off small, start off with shorts, work their way up to full features, and then get there all the way to the Hollywood studio films. I mean, it's just a journey. It's the path that a lot of us are on. So let's that's all great. So there's a couple of independent films that we were checking out, and Nadine's going to mention them, and we're going to talk about them a little bit. There are a couple of shorts. They're actually overall on Vimeo. We have a question.
What would we do different for her character if we directed Wonder Woman 2?
Oh, if we were to direct Wonder Woman 2? That's a good question. That's coming from
Natalia.
Natalia. All right. Actually, I'll start off with Nadine on that. What would you do differently if you were directing Wonder Woman 2?
I would definitely. There was a moment in the movie that I was expecting, like they do a twist in the movie, and I was expecting it to go another way, and I would have taken. And I know that, I'm in my head. I'm thinking it's like maybe they didn't go to that twist because it would have been another kind of shock to the world. Whatever. It's like another female here or whatever. But I'm like, you're already halfway there. Why not just take it all the way there? And just give it the full shock value. And the other thing I would do, I would give the backstory a little bit more exposition.
So you would have made the antagonist a possible female as well.
Well, I would have taken, like, there's a character in the movie, and I would have focused on that character more. Like,
Understood.
Yeah.
All right, Hector.
I think I would have made it a little bit more brighter.
This we gotta give it to them. There was an actual daylight scene.
There was daylight. So
There
what
was
I mean by
daylight.
bright, I was like, I would have made more daylight scenes.
You mean that, like, sunrise?
I know it's based off of London and stuff.
Yeah,
but
and
I just
let's
would've
face it,
made
almost
a
everything,
little
even
bit
Sherlock
more
Holmes was in London. It's
I
like
mean,
this
I'm-
very
I'm
dull.
thinking it's
I've
because
never
of
been to London. Can someone please tell me, is London
very
really
dirty.
that gray?
Yeah, it's dreary.
It always looks gray in
Can't be
film.
always great.
I got it
No,
like
it's
like
very-
Mary Poppins doesn't look gray, which by the way, Mary Poppins 2, the images of Mary Poppins 2
But
came
I
out,
also
and that looks
think
pretty
it has
awesome.
to do with the time, because remember, they're in the middle of the war and all the explosion and all
I
that
do. I mean, I
surrounding
agree with
there.
you, but there has to be one sunny day.
Yeah.
There has to be. I mean, come on, the sun has to come out.
Well, maybe it's because of the contrast of the contrast of Themyscira or Paradise Island
Yeah.
and London. Maybe it's like here you are on Paradise and here's the real world, and maybe they were doing it
Like
because
she
to show
said,
that stark
it's
contrast.
100% agree with you with that, but can we just get it? I'm asking is
One sunny day.
Sunny day.
Well,
That's all I'm asking.
it's we do have to figure out DC
I mean,
has.
DC, can you just make one?
Well,
sunny
hey,
day?
just imagine when Aquaman is underwater and it's blue. It's gonna be gray blue. It's gonna just be dark.
No, just can you learn from that?
Hopefully-
Just one sunny day.
Question. Conrad is asking if it's better than Logan.
No,
Yeah.
sorry,
Conrad, there's nothing better than Logan.
There's not a comic book movie out there. Well, there may be one, but Logan is probably my top.
The
comic
only
book film
other
out
thing
there.
that's better than Logan is maybe Deadpool playing Logan.
Yes.
The only thing.
Yeah. So I mean, let's put it this way. Okay, and if I was going to answer Natalia's question, which in turn will answer Conrad's question, Wonder Woman's third act for me, and I think for everybody on this panel, fall into the perhaps the big battle. Let's leave it at that. Which for the amount of power that these characters have, you kind of need a big battle. The difference is that Logan has slight unfair advantage because we've been following Wolverine for like 10 years or something like that. So Logan is a culmination and a conclusion to a character that we've all fallen in love with. Yeah, your Logan is a third act. The entire film is a third act. But Logan's third act, I've seen women watching Wonder Woman and shed tears of pride.
Yeah.
I shed a man tear, just the one on the right eye, one on the left for something that happened earlier to a character, just in case you haven't seen it yet, and one out of the right eye that happened at the end of Logan, just in case you haven't seen it. So 2 man tears out of Logan.
I went straight up Kevin Smith style, cried. I was bawling.
Well,
Okay.
that's the thing.
I had tissue.
Logan is an emotional
Hold on.
film. Logan is a very emotional, versus Wonder Woman is supposed to be an empowering film versus an emotional film. If it wasn't an emotional film, it'd be like, okay, this is another.
I'm sorry,
Whatever.
Conrad's really chiming in. He's like, Dark Knight is way better than Logan. Again, Conrad, I said one of the best comic book films. Dark Knight would definitely be up there. If I had to compare the two, I would say that on the Dark Knight, Heath Ledger made the Dark Knight and not Batman. Christian Bale. Not Christian Bale.
But also 2 different stories, and I'm going to be honest with you. I still related more with Logan because at the point he became more man. Because now he was the superhero. Like Batman, to me, even though he's a man,
Nolan humanized him quite a bit, especially in the third one.
Yes.
But
for the first time, even Professor X became more human because they're losing their powers, and you're just like, you can relate to like losing your family member. It was like, wow, dude, I'm losing somebody here.
Yeah. Yeah. So yes, although The Dark Knight is a fantastic film, again, 1 and 2 interchangeable. Catch me on one day, Logan will be 1. Catch me on another day, Dark Knight will be 1. But if I watch Dark Knight again, and I have recently, really and truly, there are some parts of Dark Knight that every movie has its ups and its downs. Nothing's perfect, but Dark Knight has some moments that you're like, let's get back to some more Joker. If you're watching The Dark Knight, don't you feel that sometimes? Like, let's get back to the Joker. Okay, cool, Batman. Let's get back to the Joker. And there's some Harvey Dent stuff that I was like, but honestly, Logan.
Do you think? Let me ask you guys something. Do you think that the power of, and this is going back into independent films and stuff.
And by the way, Deadpool's like number 3, 4, somewhere like that. Deadpool's right up there too.
Do you think that we're just oversaturated with all these superheroes that we're just getting like numb to them, versus we're really getting where now independent films are becoming more like
they just really like because we are getting oversaturated. For them to be able to stick out, they have to like really push it and do something completely different with the superheroes.
That's what I liked about Logan.
That's what I like about Logan. I thought Logan was more like an independent film.
Logan was kind of on an indie film. Logan could have been done on an indie budget.
Yeah, versus
not really, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I mean, it felt like an indie film where it was more like about the character, not about the powers.
Right.
Yeah, not about the powers, and it's just
the flashiness.
They're gonna beat some like unbeatable being that comes from another world.
Right, and then at the end you know that they're gonna live.
Yeah.
Logan was more like an independent film. It felt more, indie. It just had that more, human emotion to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Nicole's mentioning that Wonder Woman's third act kind of suffered villain-wise in a way that Marvel movie villains suffer, where the main character is fully explored, but the villain doesn't live up to the same way and payoff swing. Yes. And it goes on beyond that, but I but I can't read that right now. But yes, so Nicole, and that's there. The third act is probably the hardest thing to pull off in a film, even on from the smallest budget to the largest budget, what you have is an interesting character who goes on a character's journey. And whether it's a hero's story or it's man versus nature or whatever the case is, when you're creating a story, you typically come up with a really cool idea, which is followed by what? Like a really cool scene? Like, oh man, I got a cool idea for a film, and wouldn't it be cool if this character did this? But then that process goes through the whole script writing and everything like that, and then you've got to come up with this third act. You've got to be able to pay off everything that we've seen up till then. And that's tough, especially when you're talking about a character as beloved and as known as Wonder Woman, who's had all these adventures and things of that nature. That's why I say that Logan has a disadvantage, because the entire movie of Logan was a third act. It really was a long conclusion to all the other stories that we've seen before that. Wonder Woman had to establish a character, have us fall in love with the character, had to establish two characters, because we also had to like Chris Pine's character, Steven.
Oh yeah, I think he was brilliant.
Chris Pine is brilliant. All right, yeah, he's brilliant.
He's brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, if you haven't seen him in Hell or High Water, which is another indie level film, go watch it. We talked about it in a previous episode. Go watch Hell or High Water. And he's Captain Kirk. I mean, again,
That's all that matters.
and he's done a couple other things too. There was the limo driver where he plays a crazy character.
Yeah.
Chris Pine is awesome. But you have these two characters and their little team that you got to kind of fall in love with. The movie's already 2.5 hours long. So you're trying to figure out how to fit in that villain. And sometimes villains, unfortunately, even in Marvel films, have become, okay, this is the page turner. This is, okay, now the villain has to do this so that the hero has to move on and we can learn more about the hero. The villain now does this, we can learn more about the hero.
In the end, like, they're the obstacle that the hero has to overcome.
Right.
So it's like there's only so much that they're going to show you.
Now, don't get me wrong, and I forget, I think it was on one of the heroes from one of the Collider networks online, if you guys check them out on YouTube. They were mentioning that if someone were to do Doctor Doom should never be an independent, like just a villain at the end of a film. Doctor Doom should be his own film, and you should see the fall of Doctor Doom similar to what, okay, I'm not going to say Anakin Skywalker. I do not mean that. Please forgive me on this one. But similar, in the sense that you get to see Doctor Doom become a villain, and then you can easily have the Fantastic Four do something else over here and then bring them together.
Yeah.
And that way there's an impact as to why the Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom are fighting. Yeah. That could be done. But in most of these villains, some of them have great backstories, some of them don't. Really, if you really think about it.
I do want to say one thing though, because Nicole chimed in, and I want to say that she said, fun fact, there's no deleted scenes in Wonder Woman.
Yes.
That is awesome.
That's pretty awesome.
Hey, that's good work, Patty. Put everything in the film. That's why it's 2.5 hours long, and there's no extra scenes. Don't stay past the credits. You've got everything there. Yeah. Great work.
No deleted scenes. She just went up, and I told you it was going to go down. It just went up 4.5.
All right. So what are some of the independent films that we should be watching right now online?
Okay, so 2 films that you guys should check out on Vimeo. The first one is called Unremarkable, directed by Jared Anderson. This movie is, like, it starts a little slow, and definitely stick with it. Like, watch it to the end. It takes something that everybody takes for granted. We all take it for granted until it hits us, because everybody goes through it. Everybody in the world goes through it at one point in their life. Whether it's like immediate family or not. And it's because we live in this world that everything is like cyclical, everything goes through a system, and we get bored. We as human beings, we're creatures of that, we have very slow attention spans, and we need to like go from this to this. So like that type of stuff is just kind of going through the motions. We get bored really easily. So this movie is on Vimeo. We're gonna put the link for it. I don't want to spoil what it's about.
Yeah, we'll put the link in our YouTube, and we'll when after the show we'll put the 2 links on Facebook. We haven't been doing that. We'll start doing that. We'll start putting the links on Facebook, so you guys that are watching, as soon as we hit cut, give us about 10 minutes and we'll pop 2 links on there in the post, so that way you guys go check it out. But it's on Vimeo right now.
It's pretty cool.
Directed by?
Jared Anderson.
So look for what's it called?
Unremarkable.
Unremarkable by Jared Anderson. Now, we watched it. Hector, what was your thoughts on it?
Oh, I thought it was great. I thought it was, I'm fixing some stuff and I'm watching it, and I was like, what is going on here? But then it really gets you because you think about like the impact. You're right, emotionally what it does, and you're just like you do take it for granted nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, you don't think about it because we see it so much.
Right.
Yeah.
And now you just like
It's everywhere. Film and everyday
film,
life. It's
YouTube,
everywhere.
Everywhere, Facebook. It's everywhere. And then the situation that person's put in, you're just like, wow.
Yeah. I found that the film, what another director / writer would have taken the same subject matter and turned it into like a crime or thriller or action. They would have turned it into that, or they would have turned it into a drama. It's called Unremarkable because they really do treat it very mundane. Like, hey, this is routine.
Yeah.
This is so routine.
Another day in life.
We're so desensitized, and I think that's a big thing too. I mean, I think actually the desensitivity of some of the subject matter in the film is actually a micro version of what's happening in the world. I mean, how many times do we hear about some horrible stuff that happens in the world, but it happens all the time? We're just kind of desensitized to it. I mean, our heart goes out, and you're like, oh man, that sucks. But you're almost like,
We only react when it's in huge numbers, and even then, like, we react for like an hour, a day, maybe a memorial, and then it's forgotten. It's
right.
whatever. It's daily life.
And I mean, there's some things that we do to try to hold on to our humanity, but we can be desensitized to almost anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're desensitized to, sexuality sometimes. We're desensitized to violence. We're desensitized to a lot of things. And it's interesting how some things can become unremarkable.
Yeah, and I thought it was shot good too.
It was shot beautifully. Yeah, it was
shot really good, guys.
It was
very enjoyable.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, it was.
It
It wasn't like very artistically shot, but it was shot like
It was still really
here it is, here it
Yeah,
is,
that's
here
what
it
I'm
is,
saying.
here
It's
it is.
like right there. Like, hey, it's there. You feel like you're there with them.
Yeah.
It was good. It was shot
Yeah.
very good.
Well, what's another film that
the other film that you guys need to check out is called Hyper Reality, directed by Keiichi Matsuda. And this one explores what our lives might, become like in the future as we, use social media so much more. Like social media is our lives. It is part of everybody.
what you are seeing now is becoming your future?
Yes.
I will now be in your face.
Like
Yes.
Forever.
social media is so entangled with our daily lives, and this really explores it to the end, to the point of if that gets taken away from you, then what do you do? Like,
Yeah, you just go crazy. I know a person who's they got social media taken away from them, and they're going crazy right now because they want to swipe.
yeah.
They're like, I gotta swipe, I gotta swipe, I gotta swipe, I gotta.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And you think about it, you're like, well, you have a child and they're already swiping. They were swiping TVs.
Yeah.
Like when they were
swipe
2.
TVs. He's
Like,
on.
why is this not swiping? Why is this not moving?
Yeah, he's swiping right now. He's on every channel. And that's at 2 years old.
Yeah.
He turned 3 yesterday, but yeah.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Dean. My little wolf.
He's so big.
But no, it's just like there's people. It was shot really good, and you get that like. First of all, it's mad visual effects.
Lots of visual effects. And we're going to get into that a little bit
Yeah.
later, but yes,
A
definitely
lot
some
of visual
great.
effects, and it was just like if you had Google eyewear, is it what's called Google eyewear
Yeah.
glasses?
Google Glass.
Google Glass implanted in your eyeballs.
Yes.
Pretty much what it is.
Yeah. There's some
And advertising is happening.
Oh
and
my
spam.
God.
Yeah, spam.
Oh
and,
my
and
God.
advertising cater to your experience.
Yeah, to your
too.
experience. Well, that's what they're doing now, though, anyways, because you go to, if you think about it, if you go to Pandora, or whatever,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
advertising to your
Everywhere,
need.
everything's
Yeah.
connected by Google too. So
Yeah.
it's like every day, like Google gains another company that we use and another social media platform that we use. So it's like everything's getting so integrated.
Are you saying Google's the devil?
No, I'm not saying Google's Google's
I'm
making
just saying
my
that-
life easier by making everything integrated. But at the same time, I can't go onto like a blog, or I can't go onto like, even if I'm looking at images, like I'm on Pinterest, and then there's ad catered to something that I looked up on Amazon. And that's kinda creepy.
Law Smith from Toko Works would call that retargeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've been retargeted. Go check out Sweat Equity, guys. It's a great podcast. No, but seriously, that's what I liked about the film. That it took. There have been other films that have done this. Blade Runner done this. Ghost in the Shell did this, and I only bring up Ghost in the Shell because they did it recently. What was another one that did it a lot? Where you kept Minority Report did that a lot.
Yeah.
They scan the eye, and now the advertisements changed
Yeah.
to suit you. This was that what I love about it, now mind you, I just mentioned Blade Runner, Minority Report, and Ghost in the Shell, huge budgets. This was done on an independent budget, and you could tell that it was probably done with After Effects or Cinema 4D or a combination of that. Maybe they used some Nuke, but I'm going to say that it could have been done with After Effects.
Yeah, I'm thinking probably After Effects and Mocha.
After Effects, Mocha,
That's what I
right?
feel like. Nuke, though.
And what a great portrayal of the future. What a great sci-fi, because it's a sci-fi.
Yeah.
Yeah, sci-fi.
What a great sci-fi on an indie budget that has a great message to it, and you're sitting there going, wow, that took a lot of tracking. It took a lot of tracking.
But it was the story was good.
The story's great.
Yeah.
The story's great.
Yeah, I think it is, there's very limited dialogue, but it's still told very well. Like, it does.
You may
carry
need
that
subtitles. There's some Spanish. I think it's in Spanish.
It is in Spanish.
Was the director Japanese? Because that sounded like an Asian name.
Yeah, but it is in Spanish.
Okay, so we have an Asian director doing an independent film with a Spanish language film. So, hey, we're crossing borders here.
Yeah.
We cover indie film from all races and
ethnicities.
backgrounds, ethnicities. Thank you. I was tongue twisted there for a second. Must need more beer.
Maybe.
Oh, by the way, holy crap! How could we forget this? Everybody,
yeah.
stop! Raise your glasses to the bricks. This is what happens when we get started late.
Yeah.
The problem is that they gave us more beer than they should have before we got up here.
Yeah, that's the problem. And so everyone at home, please raise your glasses. Thank you to the Bricks. Thank you, Josh, as always, for sponsoring the show. We're putting it in the middle. We'll put it at the end, and I'm going to throw a logo at the beginning because I'm going to edit the hell out of this thing. Don't worry. Don't you worry about it.
Oh, now I have to sip because you guys sip, man.
Hey, it's the rules. Don't worry. I got more over there if we need some. So, speaking of graphics, speaking of indie films, let's talk about, because we happen to have 3 graphic people on the panel. Let's talk about your independent film and how you can do visual effects on a budget, and where you can learn to do some visual effects on a budget, and who to try to commission if you're going to do visual effects on a budget. So,
You have a question.
we have a question first before we get started. Question.
Conrad is asking if it would work as a feature. I'm thinking he's referring to hyperreality.
Hyperreality. Conrad, we're going to assume that you're talking about hyperreality. Would it work as a feature? I
don't think it would.
Yeah, I think it made its message. It did it in one quick short film. There's
You would have to add some sort of more plot line to it, and to be able to turn it into a feature. It's more like a
right.
I'm gonna proof.
Again, I would probably compare it to an episode of Black Mirror, which if you watch it
does fit like an episode of Black Mirror. Actually,
Well, they did that film. Remember, what was that film called? The one where it was a first point of view, and they the whole movie was
something Henry.
Yeah, something Henry. They did it like that, but it was without the
Yeah.
Without the visual effects and things like that.
effects
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, without the Google Glass
Yeah.
enhanced,
So it's like-
2020
Right.
Google Glass. So I think the beginning, middle, and end was the concise story that kind of just told a quick little nugget of this person's life. Could it be part of a larger story and that has this kind of advertising, things like that? I think we've kind of seen that a little bit in Minority Report and some other films. I think this took it to an extremely almost annoying, in your face. It was busy.
Oh, it was real busy.
It was.
I was so busy.
It was but it was busy on purpose. It was like, hey, this is what your future could be like with all the spam and advertisement in your face.
And I believe it. I believe that if social media and all that gets so integrated into our lives, it can become that. Because it already is kind of like that. You go outside.
I mean, how many people walk around with their phones and don't put down the phones? They wake up, first thing they do is check their phone,
they're
take it to
addicted
the
to their
bathroom,
Yeah.
I challenge you guys to not be on your phone for a day.
I can do that easy.
Me
I
and
turn.
David- me
when
and
I
Dee did
work-
that.
Yeah, we did
So
that.
we were at lunch. We're like, yo, dude, I challenge you. Just challenge each other. 'Cause as the train is my.
There's a
soundtrack.
massive train here in Ybor City, so we apologize
Sorry,
for
guys.
that.
But
Yes, it is a train, Kimberly. Sorry.
Kimberly, while the train's going, she asked, "What is our best episode?" We say, "This episode is the best."
This
episode.
one right here, with nobody else
Why?
on it
Because
but
Dee's
us.
in the middle,
Until
and we're
Conrad
representing
can
one
come
another.
and Mike can come and prove it otherwise, this is the best episode right here. Again, the Red Party! All right, moving on.
All right. Yeah. No, but I think that and this short was just sort of like a snack. You know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
a feature's
It
like
was
a
just
meal.
to give
This
the
was like
point across.
like the chips that Conrad likes to eat. You know what I mean?
Like a bag of chips.
Like a bag of chips
bag
that
of
was
chips.
just really good. You're like, this is my favorite.
Not
bag
a
of
family
chips.
size, but like that
No,
perfect
that
little.
perfect bag of chips you got at Subway or something. You're like, this is good.
Yeah, there you go. So that answers your question, Conrad. Any other questions before I move on?
No, we can move on.
All right. So, independent films have to deal with a lot of hurdles. One of the biggest hurdles is visual effects. I mean, if you're going to do a sci-fi like the ones we just spoke about, and some of the other bigger major films that we've spoken about, you want to incorporate some sort of visual effects, and you're trying to figure out either A, where do I learn some of these visual effects, or B, what kind of skill sets do I need to know? Like if I know somebody, because we talked about it in another episode. Hey, if you don't know visual effects, know someone who does. But you need to ask them what kind of visual effects do they know, what kind of software they use, and then more importantly, how to plan for those effects, because that's another thing. Before you do a visual effect, you need to plan for the effect, and we're going to talk a little bit about planning for the effect, and then some ways of getting that effect out, off the ground. Now, this is a general conversation. We'll get into more specifics later, but what we first want to talk about is that planning for a visual effect, whether or not you should use practical versus visual effect, and then obviously, where to get some resources to learn on how to pull off a particular visual effect moving forward. So we talked about hyperreality. Mm-hmm. Yes, hyperreality. And one of the two softwares that we feel that they use that could have been used to do it. Now, mind you, we don't know what they use, but these are two softwares that they could use, was Mocha and After Effects. Yeah. Correct? So let's talk a little bit about what the hell, just for some people know what After Effects is, and for those of you who know After Effects, just bear with us for a little bit. We're going to just go over that quickly, what After Effects is, and then quickly what Mocha is, and then we're going to tie them together as to how that can be used and examples that it can be used for your film for things like set extensions, scene replacements, and other things. So, Hector, tell us a little bit about, if you were going to define After Effects in layman's terms, how would you define After Effects in Mocha?
All right, because I know we only got like 10 minutes left, so I'll try to be as quick as possible. After Effects is more for motion graphics type, and Mocha is more for tracking your graphics onto a scene.
So, tracking is like following and tagging onto stuff, right?
Correct. So you'll be tracking, tagging, taking something and just adding to a live scene.
Right. So
other things you can do with it, but I'm just
Mocha would actually take this glass and take this little logo right here and put little markers on it and follow it. And then you could replace this with something else, which is fantastic for when, in this particular film, they were doing all kinds of replacements. They were putting like things on walls and things on people, and they had like
And
the little
objects
Sims
too,
thing.
right?
Yeah, they had like a little Sims icon following over people and things of that nature.
and they rotoscoped a lot.
They
Yeah.
rotoscoped a lot.
Either
And
they rotoscoped or it was on green screen. Like I would like to see the behind
I
the scenes.
think there was a lot of rotoscoping. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, because there was a lot of, especially on that scene where it kind of
With the motorcycles and stuff.
and where it goes down in the supermarket.
That's why I was talking about the supermarket scene. That's why I was
I think it was just rotoscoped over.
But their
everything.
rotoscope was so clean.
Yeah.
All right, so just to give a term, rotoscoping is when you sit there and meticulously cut this out so
it's
that
like-
you could put something
yeah.
behind it. Now, normally, most people in the world out there have seen on Captain America and Wonder Woman and a bunch of films some green screen. You've seen green screen, you've seen blue screen. It's been around forever. Rotoscoping is when you don't have that luxury. Planet of the Apes has to do that quite a bit because Andy Serkis is right there in a suit and he's just doing his performance on set, and then they roto him out and they put an ape in his place, which means that they have to cut out whoever's in front of them. Whoever's in front of them, there's not a green screen. They have to literally follow his shoulder, follow his head, and just literally trace him out, cut him out, and then put an ape in there.
Pretty much you're cutting out a picture
Frame by frame.
which means like picture by picture, which could be 1,000 pictures.
Yes.
And you got to make sure you cut it out perfect, or if not, you're going to see some distortion.
Some weird
weird distortions.
So if you want to see an example on an independent film of rotoscoping and tracking, go check out Digital Caviar's Tagged. It's actually an independent film that was done by two of our panelists, and we helped out on some of the visual effects. and you'll see that there is rotoscoping, there is tracking, and there is scene replacement, all in that short film, all done with After Effects and Mocha. Yeah, so that's how meticulous rotoscoping is. So if you're going to rotoscope something, please plan with your visual effects guy.
If you're starting out, especially, please start small. Start very small.
And I think that's the biggest key. If you're going to do visual effects in a film, you got to kind of pick what visual effects you have. Now, there's some visual effects that you could do that are very practical. There's a film that's going to be coming out here shortly that Noel Torres is going to be doing, and we'll be showing it here on Indie Raps. That's going to involve one actor playing two roles. Now, in Alien Covenant, Michael Fassbender played two androids, and they used a technique called facial mapping, and they did a couple of practical techniques where they had a double and they had some things like that, and that's still a visual effect. What's the TV show? Orphan Black.
Yeah,
Orphan Black is awesome.
Orphan Black.
Check it out,
Orphan Black is
definitely.
awesome.
Oh my god.
Go YouTube and watch the behind the scenes of Orphan Black and see how they duplicate the same actress over and over in a scene.
Yeah.
And then you can see how much planning goes into a shot. So if you're going to pull off, if you have a story and you're going to pull off a visual effect and it's a little bit outside of your realm, my first piece of advice is plan your shot, know what's going to need a visual effect, and then immediately go and contact somebody who can say, do you know After Effects? Do you know Mocha? Do you know, mind you, there's also Nuke, and there's Flame, and there's Smoke, and there's a bunch of other software out there, but the most common ones and the most available, I would say, are After Effects, Mocha, and although Nuke does have a free version that you can download and try, so go check them out at thefoundry.com. You can go check out Nuke as well, which is probably the more advanced industry standard. Fusion by Blackmagic is also a very huge up and coming visual effects package as well.
I mean, Fusion, Nuke. I would just recommend if you're starting off, it's just easier to do Mocha and After Effects because subscription based on the internet now is so cheap that you can actually, and there's so many tutorials.
Yeah,
there's not many tutorials in Fusion.
Right, Fusion needs to up their tutorial game.
Right, but at least with Mocha, you got Andrew Kramer. He is like the godfather when it comes to this stuff. I would recommend Mocha and After Effects if you're getting started.
Yes, and After Effects has a built-in camera tracking system. So if you're trying to do a complex shot, at least if you haven't learned Mocha, After Effects can camera track. So let's just talk about this from start to finish. Okay, I have a scene, and it was going to require visual effects. First thing that you should do is plan the shot out so that it's not something that you're making up on set. If you're starting off and you don't understand visual effects, you do not want to wing something that you haven't planned out. That you don't want to do that with visual effects. Most visual effects shots, from small to large, have a visual effects director, have visual effects producers and content. There's a whole department that's going to help you with that. So I would definitely recommend, if you don't know, go look up a tutorial. Again, we mentioned videocopilot.net, which is Andrew Kramer's stuff, and there's a bunch of others. And you might even see the effect that you're trying to do. You might be like, that's what I want to do, and then do that. And if you don't know how to do After Effects, then by all means, get someone who does and say, this is what I'm trying to do. What do you need me to shoot so that you can have what you need? And that's super important. Any other advice that you would give to someone who's just trying to do a visual effect for the first time and incorporate that in their film?
I say if you can make it practical, the more practical you can do it, and make the visual effects more of a salt and pepper adding to the ingredients.
Yeah, like don't make it all the effect. Just plan your shot and be aware of what you can really pull off.
And visual effects is to me, I think it's more better for me, or I get more gratitude out of it if you are able to have it where someone's where that's a visual effects scene, and then they're like, oh man.
Where they can't tell if it's real or not.
And I think that's the key of it. And so, I mean, I know we're running out of time here.
That's okay. We were asked, where can you find the software? Well, After Effects and Mocha are part of the Adobe suite. You can go to adobe.com. You can go find it there. They do have a subscription. I think you can get the entire Adobe package for about $60 to $70 a month. So if you think about it, if you're going to do a film and you shoot the film and you need After Effects, and you're like, well, I can't afford After Effects, but I got a guy who knows After Effects and I need to pay for a license for it. Okay, fine. You subscribe You might be able to subscribe for 3 months, 6 months. Visual effects can take 1 or 2 or 3 months, or 6 months, 8 months, a year, depending on how complicated it is. You pay that out, and now you're going on a monthly basis, and you're good to go. Other software, like I said, Nuke and Fusion, some of them can be downloaded for free so that you can learn it. You can't do anything, you can't monetize on what you do with that. So you do have to consider that if you're trying to make money off of your film. I would definitely consider that, hey, well, I just got a trial version of Nuke and now I'm trying to make money off of it. Be careful with that. You'll probably end up getting you and your entire film and everything shut down and then have to pay Nuke money anyways. So don't do that. But definitely, if you're going to look for something and you want to look for an affordable standard, Adobe in general, even if you're doing Nuke, you're going to have to go into Photoshop at some point. You have to learn Illustrator at some point. So if you're going to do anything, grab After Effects, grab Mocha. It's right off the bat. It's easy. It's affordable. Everyone can get to it. You can go to adobe.com.
4D, so you can
you
can add your 3D elements on there.
Yeah, you can learn 3D, put it on there.
Mocha track, you can do 2D, 3D, all with the Adobe Suite. And then we don't even get sponsored by Adobe, so we're just telling you this
Yeah, we're just trying to save you guys some time and money.
And tutorials out there. YouTube for free.
Oh my God, there's a whole bunch of them.
Lynda.com is great. I mean,
Digital tutors.
Digital tutors. That's not digital tutors anymore.
No, it's a Pluralsight.
Yep,
with
Pluralsight, I think, right? So, but those tutorials are out there for you guys to learn, so that way you can add, what you need for your independent films. I mean, those are great tools.
Yeah, Nadine, anything you want to talk about when you're working on a visual effect? What as an artist do you need? But you want a director to tell you, like when I want to pull something off, what do you want the director to tell you?
My biggest thing is definitely plan your shots, because if you don't plan it and you have your script and you have a vague idea of what you want, and you just go shoot your film, but then there's only so much that you can do in post. That's just the reality of it, especially when you have a budget and you have a specific timeline that you want to do things. There's only so much that you can do in post. You can't just go shooting what you kind of feel that might be okay and then decide, if anything, I'll just fix it in post.
Right.
It's not feasible financially, and just practically it's not feasible. I say plan your shot if you can, to have a better idea. You can just go with your phone and have an idea of what you want, and look up other ideas and examples that you can show the artist that you're gonna use. Like if you can't really explain what you want, if there's if you can kind of draw it, just like even a squiggle, anything helps. Just something that shows that you have a plan that can really set your idea on the ground, so it's not just floating out there where nobody can catch it.
Yeah, definitely. Any guidance you can give your visual effects team, your post team. There's something that, as 3 post people up here, we can easily say. If someone says, "Hey, we'll fix it in post," you basically just cursed your post department. You just told your visual effects department that screw you, you guys will figure it out. I don't have the time or the
your weekend.
Yeah, I don't have the time or the respect to actually think about this. And there's some things that have to be fixed in post.
Right.
But if you are going into it saying, okay, listen, I gotta fix this, I gotta do this in post, like I gotta do a wire removal because that's the only way I'm gonna make this person fly. Okay, we expect that. But don't be lazy. Come on. Don't be like, oh, well, you know what?
Right.
I don't like Nadine's lipstick, even though it matches her dress. I want to make sure that we fix it in post. I want it green.
Well, I'm wiggling around.
And she's dancing, doing a flash dance. I'm going to be like, are you serious? How much easier would it have been to just replace her damn lipstick on set? Like, you could have just done that. Really? So when it comes to post and visual effects, think about the visual effect. Think about what you're trying to do. Talk to your visual effects person. And if you're going to do the visual effects yourself, if you're thinking about picking up visual effects, there's plenty of tutorials. Hector mentioned a lot of great places that you can go check out some tutorials. There's software. It's affordable. They've made it easier for people to pick up the software. So, Hector, anything you want to add before we leave?
No, I mean, just, if you want to learn visual effects, I think starting off After Effects and Mocha is definitely a way to go.
Yeah. Especially for when it comes to tracking.
And it feels good coming back, guys,
Yeah. Well, welcome back. Yeah, man.
I mean, everyone's gone. Mike's gone and Comrade. They're doing like some big giant surprise.
Yeah, they're working. They're pretty busy right now.
And Damien get the honor to go to on Monday. It's
yes.
gonna be
gonna be fun times. We'll probably let you guys in on
And
that
we're
secret
doing
later.
visual effects. That day is visual effects, which
That is a visual effects set.
awesome, all green screen. And yeah, that's it, man. I'm just glad, come back.
Nadine, anything you want to say to the audience about not only graphics but Wonder Woman or anything else?
Regarding Wonder Woman, definitely, don't
Better film, Wonder Woman or Lord of the Rings?
make me do that.
Oh, I'm making you do it.
Man.
I'm making you do
Don't
it.
make me do that. I'm sorry, I have to say Lord of the Rings. That's my baby. That's my baby. I can't. But Wonder Woman definitely it's up there with DC films, because I have to say, like, when it comes to DC films, I'm very hesitant to watch them because they haven't done so well. But like the last series that I really really liked from DC was the Dark Knight trilogy, and I can put Wonder Woman up there with that one for me.
That's high praise. For me, guys, I'm just going to say I'm always appreciative of everybody who comes in and tunes in with us on Thursday. We totally appreciate you guys. I wanted to give another shout out to the Bricks, who's always hooking us up.
Thank you, Bricks.
Thank you, Bricks up.
Yes.
He doesn't have one for the final toast. You got to always see, he's been gone for a while, so he doesn't realize you always got to save a last swig for the final toast.
I have a sip.
He has a sip. Okay. So, guys, listen, we thank you all for joining us. Go watch Wonder Woman. Go check out these independent films that we were talking about. They're definitely worth your time. We would not waste your time. Anything that we suggest is because we've at least seen it ourselves, and if we tell you that we don't like it, it's just an opinion. You can still go watch it. It's just an opinion. We're not, we're just three people up here who love film. Take it on that.
And drink responsibly.
Drink responsibly.
Uber.
Yeah, that's why we have the one. See, we're smart, sort of. Guys, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you all for tuning in. Hector, Nadine, and myself, Damien Alpazar. We'll catch you guys next time, and that's a wrap, folks. We playing those really hard.